Welcome back to the Hot Lap. More breaking news. FIA boss is being investigated. Yes, Ben Sulayem is under investigation for allegedly attempting to interfere over an F1 race. This is the report from BBC Sport and by Andrew Benson, who I hold in high regard in terms of news reporting, and he's reporting that a whistleblower has told the FIA that Ben Sulayem allegedly intervened to overturn a penalty given to Aston Martin's Fernando Alonso at the start of the, at the 2023 Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, so at the start of last season, about a year ago, pretty much. Now, the claim is in a report by the FIA compliance officer to its ethics committee, which has been seen by BBC Sport. Ben Sulayem and the FIA, though, have not responded to requests for comment. By the time I read this article and by the time I'm posting it to you guys, I just did a double-check refresh. Now, the allegation has allegedly been made by a whistleblower. And that is that Ben Sulayem called, apologies if I get the name wrong, Sheikh Abdullah bin Hamid bin Asla Al Khalifa. Yeah, okay. But I've mispronounced that and I apologise. But he's the FIA's Vice President for Sport in the Middle East and North Africa. And that's where the Saudi Arabia race was. And he was there in an official capacity. And he made it clear that he thought Alonso's penalty should be revoked. If you didn't know, and we'll get into the original article, Alonso had a 10-second penalty for work done on his car while he was serving a previous 5-second penalty. The report by the compliance officer, Paolo Bassari, said the whistleblower reported that Ben Sulayem pretended the stewards to overturn their decision to issue the penalty to Alonso. The Italian word for pretendere, I've got that wrong, means to require or expect. So yeah, not pretended as in make-believe. But the Ethics Committee is expected to take about 4 to 6 weeks to issue a report. And the penalty in question had dropped Alonso from third place behind the Red Bull drivers Perez and Verstappen to fourth. And that's behind George Russell. Withdrawing it returned him to a podium position. Now, in addition, BBC Sport has verified the information with several senior figures at high levels in F1 and close to the FIA. None would go on the record, but all said they had the same information, exclamation mark. So what did happen in Saudi Arabia? Well, here's one of the original articles. It explained why did Fernando Alonso originally get a penalty. So it says here, Fernando Alonso celebrated his 100th roster appearance in F1 in 2023, but the joy looked set to be short-lived after the stewards handed him a 10-second penalty after the race that dropped him to P4, only for this decision to be reversed hours later. But why was the Spaniard penalised? Well, a 5-second penalty, and this is from the official Formula1.com page, had been dished out to Alonso for being out of position at the start of the race. So you need to get in position at the start of the race, in between the lines, and if you're out of position, you get a penalty. But it was while serving, it wasn't that penalty itself, it was while serving that penalty, that 5-second penalty in the pits, under a safety car brought out to clear the Aston Martin team of Lance Stroll, that it all started, yeah. And Alex Brundle has the video clip there, but what basically happened when we go back to the BBC website, he received a 5-second penalty. This was served at the pit stop, but the two-time champion was then given a 10-second penalty because Aston Martin, during that 5-second penalty, were judged to have contravened the rules by working on his car. But working on his car could just mean touching it during that 5-second. When you see, they're all there at the ready, but no one physically touches the car. Alonso, and it says here, Alonso's car had been touched by the rear jack before the full-time duration elapsed in contravention of the F1 rules. I guess that means maybe 0.1 seconds quicker in that pit stop if that rear jack is touching. I don't know, but at the time, the justification given by the stewards for overturning the decision referred to a discussion that had taken place between the F1 teams and the FIA on the subject of working on cars while serving a penalty in the pits. The right of the review decision said, we concluded that there was no clear agreement, as was suggested to the stewards previously, that could be relied upon to determine that parties had agreed that a jack touching the car would not amount to working on the car. Okay, but people did question that because, once again, that jack is closer than a jack not touching the car. So, yes, maybe by 0.1 or a thousandth, there is an advantage. But the Article 54.4c of that sporting regulation says, while a car is stationary in the pit lane, as a result of incurring a penalty in accordance with Articles 54.3a and 54.3b above, it may not be worked on until the car has been stationary for the duration of the penalty. Now, after the race and following the Alonso situation, an additional sentence was added in this context: touching the car or driver by hand or tools or equipment will all constitute working. Whoops. Had this sentence been in place at the time, though, there would have been no question that the stewards had made the right decision. And it said the revelation of an attempt to interfere over the penalty decision is the latest in a series of controversies to embroil Ben Sulayem since being elected in December 2021. And most recently, the FIA, launched that compliance inquiry into Mercedes team principal Wolff and Toto and Susie Wolff, which did a 180, didn't it, very quickly? And it's as it says here, that inquiry was withdrawn just after 2 days, following angry interventions from Mercedes, F1 and the 9 other teams. Insiders say that the FIA may still face legal action. And a series of controversies through 2022, it says, in his first year led to widespread concerns about his presidency and caused some senior figures to have him replaced. After pressure over the winter, Ben said he would take a step back from direct involvement in F1, saying it had been his stated objective to be a non-executive president. The controversies